Great Nigerians and wonderful viewers, welcome again today to your favorite television station, the Living TV. We're back again today with our discuss issues of the moment. Issues of the moment is a current affairs program of the Living Television. On today's issues of the moment, we are going to look at the local government autonomy and also how far it has fared after the Supreme Court had given a verdict on this financial autonomy of the local governments throughout the Federation. How has it fared? Before now, I am sure you also knew and you're too aware that this television talked about this local government autonomy severally before the local government, before the federal government, and even the Supreme Court, had to tilt towards it. Now that the thing has been approved, what are we experiencing? Having said that, in the studio today, I have with me a wonderful analyst, the man we always want to listen to, who knows it. I wouldn't want to say who knows it all, but he is a historian, he's a political affairs analyst, and also public affairs analyst. I am talking about Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi is also a tele-evangelist. Comrade, welcome to the program.
It's always nice to be here. Thank you for having me today, and you're welcome.
Yeah, Comrade, you remember before the Supreme Court ruling on this financial autonomy and the local government, we talked about severally, and they looked to see the hurdles, and then before it was implemented. It was a very big relief. A lot of us heaved a sigh of relief, believing that things will change for better. And then for the local government to be financially autonomy, that means getting rulership and leadership and dividends of democracy to the, to the grassroots. But today, how has that fared?
Okay, thank you so much. I think in light of everything, one cannot say that we are there yet. From the reports we are witnessing, especially the one coming from budgets and other transparency-focused agencies and organizations, we are seeing that some states across the Federation are implementing, some are not implementing. And then amongst those that are implementing, you also have those that are even partially implementing, that are not even fully implementing. Then you have those with zero transparency rate. And then it gives one huge concern.
All right. I had to ask this because of the recent report just about 4 days ago. It gives a major concern that the state government, especially our own state, you are an Abian, I am an Abian.
Yes.
You belong to local government, I belong to local government.
All of us.
And also we know what is happening. The civic tech group, the budget, names Abia as one of among the 18 to 20 states, with zero transparency in local government, physical and financial autonomy. And then the report reveals that the budget of the 17 LGAs are not reported, published, or made accessible. And listing the local government, Abia State is the #1 state, and yet in this state, the chief executive officer has always told us that he is practicing zero tolerance, to corruption. Where do we place this?
Thank you so much for asking that question. I think that's a better way to begin. Let me take you back to an article, I think published in This Day Live of 17th January 2023 during the campaign, when the current governor was still contesting governorship under the platform of Labour Party, or on the platform of the Labour Party. That statement was actually credited to him, where he said, local government money belongs to local government. He continued, once we have the rights and appropriate authorities in place, there will be no need to touch a kobo of the local government fund. End of quote. So I have said where this can actually be seen or found. If you are looking for the material, you go to This Day Live, January 2023. So after saying that, all of us, we had belief. In fact, I had hope then that if he gets elected finally, we will implement local government autonomy. Albeit we talked about it using this platform. On this platform, we're talking about it until the Supreme Court judgment of 2024. Then in Niger State, we had elections. November 2nd, 2024, we had elections. 4th of November, 2024, we had a swearing-in ceremony following the election and the announcement or the release of the results. One would have expected that at least 2025 budgets of this local government, of these 17 local governments in Niger State, with respect to the because that's where we are coming from, or that's where I am from. I know that the report indicted several other states, like about 20 of them, but I'm focusing on my state now. So I had expected that 2025 would have marked an epochal era that would signal the dawn of fiscal autonomy for the entire 17 LGAs in Niger State. But from what budget is saying, there is no such thing in the horizon. And unfortunately enough, the state government has yet to release a statement to either counter or to say, no, we are guaranteeing, we are entrenching, we are deepening local government autonomy and see the materials to access. Because budget is a civic tech organization focusing on fiscal transparency, accountability, and all whatnot, especially as it has to do with public finance. That was the organization that revealed to Nigerians that in 2 years, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu spent 34 billion naira on foreign tours. That's not about just 34 billion naira as a naira, but that was about converting the dollar to the naira, which weakens the local currency. That's the organization talking. And then we've not heard anything from the State Ministry of Finance, State Ministry of Planning and then Budget, nor have we heard anything from the maybe Auditor General or Accountant General of the state.
Okay.
So that leaves much to be desired. It simply means there is clearly lack of transparency.
Okay, comrade, talking about, I don't know what you expect to hear from the government. That was why I asked. You belong to local government in Niger State here. And if you've been very close to your local government, can you tell me, is there any difference between this current government administration and the past administration, shortly before the announcement of the Supreme Court, before this financial autonomy issue? Is there anything different in the local governments? So what do you expect the government to say?
Okay, thank you so much. I think there is a difference.
What's the difference?
The difference is that we are having mayors now. Then we had the council chairman or caretaker committee chairman or whatever name so called. Now we are having mayors. But I will say something now. You see, each government, each tier of government, that's what there is what we know as fiscal responsibility. And the Niger State has that law. I think a law of 2012, fiscal responsibility law. What that concept simply connotes is that each tier of local government is financially responsible to take care of its fiscal needs or even pecuniary needs without resorting to the other. Are you following my point now?
Yeah.
That is why you see that the federal government reports its budget quarterly. The state government reports its budget quarterly. Then where are the releases? Those from the local government, the 17 of them, to whom are they reporting? They are not even reporting. So you see that in most cases, that in fact, from my own finding, let me even shock you. Some of these local governments do not even have websites where they will even publish the report on. Now, some websites of these local governments, the domains are hosted in the state website. That does not guarantee independence. You see where the problem is. Because if the local government is independent of the state, it will be able to report its spending the same way the state reports quarterly. Why is the state even reporting or releasing budget performance reports? The state does that because it is partnering the World Bank and other development groups, doing a lot of programs in Niger State. It didn't even begin now. Some started 2016, some before. There is what is known as State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability, and Sustainability Programs, FETAS. There is also what is known as RAMP, Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Program, RAMP, of the World Bank. If you disclose your budget, if you make these fiscal disclosures, you are qualified to draw. That's what Abia State has been implementing over the years. Now, what does it say? That the state that has been implementing this, that has been doing what is known as Open Budget Partnership, OGP, with civil societies, with media group, is not guaranteeing the independence, the financial autonomy of each local government council. Now, that's a huge question mark.
Yes. Why I asked if there is any difference? We only talked about the nomenclatural difference. But what about the administrative difference? Talking about the financial autonomy of the local government.
Yes.
As we speak now. In my local government chairman cannot grade a road of even less than a kilometer.
Yeah.
Because whatever from the grapevine, which is very, very correct and real, because with what Civic Take, the budget has revealed, and the state has not been able to say anything. Commissioner for Finance, Commissioner for Information, the aides, the governor's aides, on media and handlers. Nobody has said anything about this, which means this thing is as fact as heaven itself. And talking about this now, this financial autonomy as we speak now, in so many local government, that was why I asked you whether you belong to local government or not. My local government cannot grade a road of even less than a kilometer. And from the grapevine, they are paid at the end of the month like ordinary civil servants and so on. And that is exactly what Civic Take budget, that's exactly what they are talking about. And Abia State is in the #1 list of the states that is facing this zero transparency. And yet, the slogan here is that we practice a zero tolerance to corruption.
Yes.
So what is your take on this?
My take is simple. This is where there is a question mark. If you go to Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution, it says that the state shall guarantee the existence of the local government in terms of structure, in terms of finance, in terms of composition. So that tells you that to a large extent, the state should actually supervise the activities or regulate what the local governments are doing. Yes, there should be autonomy, but to an extent, there should be regulation. The same way the federal government regulates the state. For example, when the state wants to take loans or maybe participate in activities that requires the federal government to exercise instrument of control, the federal government will exercise control through the Ministry of Finance or other relevant bodies. For example, if Abia were to be a coastal state, and then he's talking about free trade zone, you have to involve NEPS, that is Exporting Promotion Council of the federal government. Now, with respect to the councils and the states, this is where it even gets interesting. We are supposed to witness or harvest reports of the budget of the councils quarterly or every quarter. Do we do that in other states? No. I've not seen that before. So what budget is saying that? The budget of these 17 local government councils are not accessible. They are not published. That means zero transparency. It is simple. Let's call a spade a spade. It is simple. It means that the state government, to a large extent, is either complicit or is maintaining weak monitoring tools towards the local government. Now, let me shock you. Sometime in the same January of 2023, January of this year, of 2026, a young man known as Comrade Chinedu, aka the local government mayor of Isukwato, spoke when other mayors, they came under the auspices of Argon to give the governor a vote of confidence or to pass a vote of confidence in the governor. They said that the governor was actually releasing all their monies to them as and when due. Now, how come they do not report the same money they received from the governor monthly? So that's where the question is. Now, something has to be said. You see, Section 162 is clear that there shall be what? State local government joint account. The money we are talking about here is released to the state to be given to the councils. The question we should now ask the state government is whether this money gets to the councils. That's the question. Are you following my point? So, from all indication, it is clear that these councils are either underfunded or something is happening within the line of within the chain of implementation, or within the chain of what releasing the funds to them. For this to be the report from budget, and for the state government to have said nothing since that time, it points to something. That there is no financial autonomy across the 17 local governments.
And there's no transparency.
And the meaning is simple. And the meaning is simple. You cannot talk about issues like poverty, issues like hardship, or even let me say rural poverty, which is even a driver of urban poverty, without guaranteeing the independence of the local government. You cannot be doing all these programs for the World Bank. You are doing FETAS, you are doing RAMP, and then you are not reporting what the local government is spending. So that is where the question mark is.
All right. Talking about this, do you think we have elected chairman? And if one says yes, that we have elected chairman, just like we have, like was claimed. When we have more than 10 political parties and in various local governments, is it possible for a particular political party to gain all the seats in all the local governments? For instance, in Imo, you have about 25 or 27 local governments. Abia, you have 17. And all of them, they are all in the same party, winning that same seat.
Okay, let me clear this. I think in Abia State, you have two parties now controlling the LGAs. You have the ZLP controlling about 15. You have
as arranged.
Yeah, you have young people's YPP controlling 2. To an extent, that also speaks to the fact that it is not a one-party affair altogether. But what we are asking is,
those two, where are they? Where are they still in Labour?
The question now becomes, where is the autonomy we were promised? I have given you an excerpt, a quotation or a quote from what the governor said, and I told you the paper to access it from. When he said that he will guarantee, he will ensure the existence and the practice of what? Local government autonomy. That not even a kobo of the councils shall be what? Reported missing once they get into the business of government. But now it's looking quite different. Now, remember that on I think July 2024, the Supreme Court gave a verdict where it said that any state that is defaulting shall have its revenues from the federal government cut. For which reason the governors approached Mr. President and then sought a moratorium, which was given to them. They were allowed 90 days to go and conduct local government elections. In Niger State, ours happened on the 2nd of November, following which we had a swearing-in ceremony on the 4th of November, which means the budget of 2025 ought to be transparent, ought to be accessible, ought to be there for you and I, ought to be there for everyone to see. The budget is supposed to be there for everyone to see, but now we are not seeing this budget. And then it is raising questions. How are the local governments paying salaries? How are they implementing projects? How are they conducting all what they may say that they are doing as the third tier of government? But then people do not know this. The same way you have the president as the chief executive of the federal government is the same way you have the governor as the chief executive of the state, the same way you have the council chairman as the executive of the councils. The same way you have supervisory councils here, the same way you have commissioners and the ministers at the state and the federal level. Okay. So, to me, we should be talking about, since the governor talks to the press and talks about the spending of the state, do our local government chairmen, the so-called mayors, do they talk to the press, telling us how they are faring in terms of spending money and then all of that? You here talked about their inability to construct roads. And I can tell you that even before now, Governor Anders Oti, even before their election, was building inner city roads, Trong-C roads.
Yes, because he knows what.
I feel my point now.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, please, before we go, the president one time in a media broadcast said openly that every person should hold their governor and the local government chairman responsible that he is giving out enough to make sure that the people are happy. And yet there is poverty everywhere. People are singing. It's like a song now. When you talk about poverty, it's like a song.
Yes.
And then
everywhere in the nation.
Everywhere in the nation. And then the president said, hold your governors responsible. Then what is your take on this?
I think it is simple. We are beginning to become, in fact, we are aware now that more money goes to the goes to the states following the removal of subsidy. Although the state has talked about nominal values and real value, but all the same, more money comes to the states. The implementation of the deliverables of the goods when it comes to democracy must not stop at state level. It must come down. It must trickle down to the grassroots level. So when the money is released, we have to ask questions. Governors are receiving security votes. Governors are receiving monthly statutory allocation from the federal source. They are also receiving internally generated revenue. Do you know that governments or states are supposed to transfer 10% of their internally generated revenues to the councils? Are we talking about that? Now, let me even shock you. 4 days to the swearing in of the local government mayors, Abia State had passed 2 pieces of legislations. Many were afraid, saying that this is a way of the state trying to do what? To usurp the functions of the local government, or by other means participate in what they are doing. But the state said no. It is just for us to do what? To collaborate, which is also allowed under the law. But from what we are seeing, do you know that we now have development authorities, which I now see? I am trying to see whether they are no longer. In fact, I can't guarantee that they are that they are not more visible or even more powerful than the councils. We now have Dada. We now have the one in Omaya. We now have the one in Ohafia with other local governments under them. You call them development authority. How are we sure that they are not usurping the functions
of the
and powers of the local government? We should be the 3rd tier. I'm not against the establishment of any development authority, but I'm saying that the place and the position of the local government must be there.
Okay, before we go on this section, before we leave the studio, now talking about financial autonomy of the local government. Finally, what are you telling our viewers, considering what the budget has written about 4 days ago? Nobody has refuted it. Nobody has said anything about it. The media is the Commissioner of Information, the Commissioner for Finance.
I think it is simple.
Does it point to something?
It is now left for, one, the media, just like we are doing here. Whether you're talking about television, radio, traditional, modern or new media. They should begin to ask questions along the lines of local government autonomy, financial autonomy. Then, civil society groups, we have a lot of them. Even Budget itself is a civil society group. And it has been working with many civil society groups in Abia State here. I can give you names. What are they saying? Because they are partnering the states in what is known as OGP, Open Government Partnership.
I think they played their own part perfectly well. Budget
has done what
it's supposed to do.
The civil society groups here, they ought to take up.
Exactly.
Then opposition should also ask questions. The press should also ask, people should also ask questions, because we are talking about the 3rd tier of government.
Yes.
That local government, in fact, when we had even the military days, the local government, they were able to construct roads. We saw that councillors could actually build coverts, do other things, even intervene in markets, and then in even from sea roads, naming of streets, licensing of bicycle, court rates, and what have you, even abattoir and market.
That's it.
But today, you cannot say the same. So what we are saying is that I am urging the current government. I want to talk to Governor Alex Oti now. I am saying that during the campaign, he said local government money belongs to the local government. So I want him to ensure that we have a system where the local government money belongs to local government. Now, funnily enough, and as unfortunate as it may be, Abia is the only state listed amongst the 20 from the southeast
Yes.
not implementing this, either partially or fully. That tells you something.
Yes.
Of all the 5 states in the southeast, Enugu is among the 10 that is that are implementing. Ebonyi also is there among the 10 that are implementing. Then those that are partially implementing, you have Anambra and Imo. Then the one that is not implementing at all, that has no, in fact, that is sustaining fiscal non-disclosure, is only Abia. So it speaks to something. So if we are first alphabetically, we must also be first when it comes to fiscal
transparency.
Yes, and then I want to urge the state to expand the framework of the law, fiscal responsibility law of other states. It is just verbatim of what has been done at the federal level. Let them try to expand it to make sure that the local government know their roles, what they are supposed to do, and where they are supposed to intervene. You can't talk about fiscal responsibility, yet there is no fiscal responsibility for the local government to execute.
All right, that wonderful viewers. That is where we're going to draw the curtain here. Just like Comrade Lekwachi had said, dear Governor, you are loved by the people, but it looks as if on this area, a lot of people are lamenting bitterly concerning it. The financial autonomy has been granted, yet we are yet to see the implementation. It has been granted by the Supreme Court, but the implementation, we are yet to see it in Abia State. And we appeal to the government to make sure that that happens. In my local government, I keep saying that, I keep repeating it, the local government cannot even grade a quarter road. Wonderful listeners, this is where we're going to draw the curtain, and then with me in the studio, as usual, is Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, we are happy to have you today.
Thank you for doing this together. Let's do it more.
And then we will be back again on more important and interesting programs on this issue of the moment. It is our duty to always let you know what is happening around you. Bye for now.